Hey everybody, it's Robert Dunt from ArtTop10.com, and I'm really pleased to be here today with Graham Crowley at Domo Baal and his exhibition Light Fiction. So Graham, do you want to, tell us what's going on in this magical place?
Yes, of course. Right, it's a series of paintings made at the same time that I made Light Industry, which is the painting that won the John Moores last year, right? And over the last couple of years, I mean, this has been the most prolific time of my life, actually, whether it's been the painting, the writing, and some curating as well. But it's a time when I know I've made, these are the best paintings I've ever made, and one always says things like that. You want to imagine that. Yeah. But with Light Industry, anybody who's ever seen that painting, for real, not necessarily on the internet, but for real, something of that is here. And it's all about, what I've got to do is I've got to talk about two things. The subject matter and the content. The content, straightforwardly, is light. Okay? In fact, when I was writing my statement for the Moors, I was talking about luminosity in painting and light being synonymous, a metaphor for life and this, that and the other. Okay?
Interesting.
Oh yeah. I mean, love light and stuff like that. Anyway, and I was struggling to write a sentence that didn't sound too ponderous and too sort of either metaphysical or quasi-religious, right? And so I thought, I was talking about luminosity and equivalence. And one of the other things, of course, I was talking about was that wonderful moment when you first see a Manet, one of the little flower paintings. And you realise that not only are you are you enjoying the subject matter, the flowers in the vase, in the glass vases particularly, but also the thing itself, the painting becoming its own object with its own aesthetics and its own value, its own sense of it becoming its own object. Anyway, so that duality for me is central to painting anyway. So I was writing a statement for the Moors, and that's the long and short of it, and I was struggling with that, and I suddenly thought, I don't know what happened, but a voice inside me said that the simplest, just make it simple, because don't forget I've been a selector at the Moors, and if you have a long-winded statement that starts off with something grandiose about the metaphysics or phenomenology and stuff, they're going to irritate the hell out of you. Okay. And so I thought, hold on, right. So the simplest, in my limited knowledge of grammar, is the shortest and simplest sentence in the English language has a subject, a verb, and an object. And so mine runs, I paint shadows, right? So even though there's a very specific, culturally specific locations, sites as it were, the thing that is really important, the thing that I'm preoccupied by when I paint, is the thing that is most elusive, the idea of the light, right? I don't care whether it falls on A, B or C, that's not what it's about. In fact, somebody did ask me about one of the paintings in the show and they said, what is that under that shelf? And I said, I have no idea. It's dark. Okay?
So go on, show me a shadow in the picture. Show me a...
Well, there are only shadows. In fact, I'll show you one example, right? So basically, before we go any further, I just want to say there are two elements to this. Obviously, light and shadow, there's a kind of, a direct correspondence, right? One projects the other. But I'm also fascinated by reflection. Now, all of those aspects of the world of appearances are actually intangible. Okay? I mean, I'm not painting tables, I'm painting the light on a table. I'm painting the legs of a table, and they are darker because they're in shadow. But listen, this is what happens in these paintings, right? And I'm trying to also balance, get on that knife edge between the thing itself, the stroke, the mark, and the thing that it refers to, the subject matter.
Indeed.
So you get that duality. Right. Now here, for instance, which is an area of what I think was quite illusionistic, right? Quite convincing. I would paint the shadow before I painted what is ostensibly a stick. Okay? Now, that's because the shadows in painting, well, like everything else in a painting, are none of it's real in any sense of the term, right? It's all an illusion. But the thing is, I've chosen the most insubstantial, the most, the most insubstantial and non-physical elements of our world, the shadows, reflections, and light, to be the carrier for all of these images.
So you paint the shadow first?
Yeah. Well, I only paint shadows. That's the point.
So wait, if we look at the stick,
Yes. So look, the brush stroke goes up there. See how loaded it is.
Yeah.
And gradually it peters out down here. Look, there's the end of it. See. So I mean, every brush stroke is put on in a very particular way, because if the light's coming from here, then the majority of paint has to be put on down here and drawn towards the light. The method is, it is really lo-fi. Coloured ground dries. I mask up the areas I want to be pristine and are sources of light. Right. Okay. And so you can see where they are. That's pretty self-evident. Right. And then I lay the painting down. I cover the whole surface in liquid polymerized resin and paint with Paynes Gray into that from tiny little drawings and photographs. But most of it, this is my son's workshop in Hastings. The other interiors, with one exception, are motorcycle workshops, places where I've either bought parts, hang out, or have actually worked with guys, who made stuff for the projects, the bikes I make, in their workshops.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. I'll come on to that in a minute. But anyway, so I paint over the whole thing, and all the time I'm thinking about, I'm looking for areas, or I'm inventing areas where, if the light's coming from this side, it'll be darker there, so etc. It's not rocket science. Okay. So all I'm painting are the shadows, and some of the things. Look, I mean, I couldn't tell you what that is, and I don't think it really matters.
It sort of feels a bit like a jar or a paint
exactly. It's a generic. It's
something.
Oh yeah. Listen, most forms are fairly generic at that point. Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah.
What I've got to say about this is that this bit here, absolutely striking. That yellow burns right out of the thing at your head, doesn't it?
And the reason, and this pattern, nothing functions. This is cadmium linen and Paynes Gray, right? And Paynes Gray, don't forget, isn't a black and white grey. It's an admix of several colours, ochres and blues and reds and stuff. Anyway, and some people describe it as a grey but with a blue bias.
Okay.
But it depends upon the context, the colours it's with, etc. But look, there's a reason why wasps and warning tape uses broadly this kind of palette that in shorthand looks like yellow and black. But it also interferes with your eyes as well. It is really dazzling, but not in a kind of, not in a conventional way, but it does illuminate the picture.
So you're not trying to sneak in a bit of op art at the same time, right?
No, I don't think so. In fact, no, is the short answer. Categorically not. No. But I'm aware of painting being an optical phenomenon, but I don't actually want to set about revisiting the 60s and stating what I regard as the bleeding obvious.
And so okay, one of my stupid questions. So
keep them coming.
Do you particularly like yellow, or is it?
No, that's not. No, sorry, I've got to curb myself. No, there you are, that's all you need to know. In fact, I think you know my work and you know my way of thinking about these things. I don't necessarily like or dislike what I do. I need to do these things. And what I've discovered is a correspondence between the life I lead when I'm not in the studio painting, when I'm building these bikes or I'm riding them or doing whatever, because I see that as also something that's equally creative.
Do you feel deeply unsatisfied if you don't paint for a period of time?
Yeah. Well, I think I've sort of lost my way. Yeah, if I didn't paint, I don't know quite what I would do, to be honest. Yeah, I need to paint. Yeah. I mean, there are days when I don't want to paint. And there are projects that I really can't engage with. I've not been terrific, I mean, you know as well as I do that I've had some pretty major academic posts, but I've not been, I'm not a great seller, so let's put it like that. But that has also meant that I've been able to, I've not been trapped by what's a product identity, commodification. I've been able to shift my project as and when I've wanted to, or as I've needed to rather, because of curiosity.
Which is how it should be, really.
In fact, I gave a talk recently at the Walker Art Gallery, and I think in that talk, or talking to somebody at that time, they asked me how long it took to paint these paintings, because it's a one-shot painting. There's no two ways about it. I mean, there are small modifications and tweaks.
The same question crossed my mind as well.
Right. So when you tell somebody something took 6 months, they're really impressed. They think that, that's like, so they can equate, irrespective of whether what they think of the work, they respect the effort. There's a work ethic there. But when you say it took 6 hours, they're totally underwhelmed, not to say disappointed. Right? Okay. But then, of course, what you have to remember is that it took me 50 years to find out how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wish I knew then what I know now, as I say.
So when you paint these things, as I would say, there's a lot of risk involved in producing
hold on. Don't forget, I may have painted X number, let's say 100 paintings over the last 5 years, right?
Yeah.
But I've started 200 or 300.
Yes.
And some have been destroyed, and others have just been obliterated because it's wet into wet, the whole surface. If I think things are just sort of like a mess, and that's what happens, it just becomes a mess. I just wipe it off and retrieve the surface, the canvas, but that takes a few days and a few quid to knock together. So
so
I'm not going to throw this away. So I just clean it off, prepare it again, and think about it. Think about it.
Because I always like the way when people say, "Oh, maybe I'll do some painting when I retire," because I find it quite a relaxing thing. Do you find painting relaxing or profoundly traumatic?
No. Well, sorry, that's a bit of a difficult kind of.
It's a big scope there.
Yes, death or what's it? This is really complicated. I tell you what, over the last 10 years, I think anybody who's really sort of engaged in any form of creative activity and is rigorous and self-scrutinizing will always experience what's called imposter syndrome. And I now feel, for the first time in my life, maybe, I have ownership, and I feel not comfortable in a complacent sense, but feel that this fits. This is what I need to do. It's taken me a hell of a long time to find that out.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, and also, so say you're painting this line here. As you're doing it, is it like exhilarating? Are you worried it's going to end up in the wrong place? Are you buzzing, or are you
That's a very interesting question. None of those things. No, because what happens is I actually think that when I'm really painting, when I'm in the moment, I'm nowhere at all.
You've left the room, so.
No, that's. That's the antithesis. No, I'm so engaged in what the relationship between everything is and how it's going to be organised. I'm anticipating the next move. I'm thinking about what I've just done. And I'll tell you what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to balance the idea of doing just enough. I want to infer. I don't want to explain, because I don't believe paintings are there to inform. That's the job of illustration. Okay, that's fine. That's good. I'm cool with that. No, I am. That's a very interesting way you put it. I haven't left the room, but I'm certainly in this room. In an imaginative sense. So I'm recreating the experience of space using light. The fact that the table may only have 3 legs is immaterial, because light can actually, whether it's bright or dark, the shadow can consume and the light can burn, so it can obliterate. It doesn't. When things are in true sunlight, you cannot see the full gamut, right? We aren't adapted for that. And
So it's another one of my slightly sort of semi-stupid questions.
Keep them coming, Rob.
Do you feel you're a bit like Manet as he was into painting light?
Ooh. Well, I was to say, do I feel I'm a bit like Manet?
Okay. Do you feel you have any sort of intellectual or idea match up with Manet?
That's a good question, in the sense that I don't really think about it like that. No, I don't know. I'll tell you, as I say, I cite Manet occasionally, because that was the moment when I suddenly, in Paris, in the Jeu de Paume, or wherever it was, in some exhibition, in some collection there, and I saw those flower paintings for real, for the first time. And I thought, there's something about the intelligence that's driving these paintings. So yeah, I suppose the short answer to the Manet thing is yes, in a sense. There are so many painters I think about all the time.
Yeah.
Because I think painting is a discourse.
Yeah.
It goes on in my head, it goes on in your YouTube channel, it goes on in galleries, it used to go on in art schools, but I won't want yeah, it's a discourse, it's not an activity. And that's why why I refer to myself as a painter, because painting is an activity or a pursuit, whereas artist is an accolade.
Yeah.
And why stop at calling yourself an artist? Why don't you just go the full gamut and call yourself a genius?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is a super cheeky question. So by calling it a discourse,
yes,
does that allow you to hide a bit more within a larger historical process as opposed
hide isn't the right. Hide sounds pejorative. No, I think it's enabling, right? It's like anything. If you are watching a film and you know something, I don't know, about the Korean War, such and such will actually mean, or the Vietnam War. I mean, Apocalypse Now, if you've never left the room, as it were, is unintelligible.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I think the idea about understanding, appreciating, thinking about, writing about, and making paintings is all inform each other. That's why it's a discourse.
Actually, now you said that, I see the discourse as a much more important thing.
Oh yes.
Because otherwise, if you're not really part of that, you're not really involved in it at all. Like,
exactly. Yes. If you're outside of that practice, then maybe you're just an historian. Maybe you're sort of interested bystander. No, I was just going to say, I spend all my waking life thinking about this stuff, and not worrying about it, but thinking, how can I do it better? What should I do next? Yeah. And in fact, there's a couple of examples in this room.
What I'd love to talk, because we've been chatting so much about that, but this painting over here, I think is absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
And I'd love to talk about that one, because I'd say it slightly takes some of the other things, but moves on.
Right, okay, yes. By the way, there are two versions of this painting in this room.
Oh man, no, that's...
There's the other one over there.
Isn't it?
There it is over there. Now that's the very first version.
Oh, that is so clever.
Or is it the second version? I can't remember. Anyway, right. Now that is much cruder.
Yeah.
Get it? And that's why I paint versions of paintings, because the second is a critique of the first, the third is a critique of the first and the second, and it's cumulative.
Yeah.
And that's a fascinating way to work. It's not series exactly, because series means that you've already sort of seen a pattern of behaviour. I haven't, right? Okay, so what I was going to say is that would be painted, I don't know, in 2022. This was painted earlier this year, right? But all of them, but what they have in common is a room I stayed in whilst in Drogheda in Ireland, whilst installing and curating a show called The Tyranny of Ambition.
Oh yeah.
It was a collection of Irish, or painters resident in Ireland, and people who paint and are UK based. That's all, right. And I was put in this executive suite
very
on
nice.
the 6th floor, so it's room 601. There's only one or two suites on that floor, but then you've got the whole of the roof, as it were, along with the generators and all the rest. Right, and when you walk into this space, it has there's a kind of sort of, I'm thinking Lamborghini now.
Oh yeah,
There's a certain kind of affluence that is absolutely... Exactly. It's hysterically funny.
Yeah.
It's all right on a bedroom wall, but when you see one going down the high street, it's just embarrassing, isn't it? Let's face it. Right. And this is all about not smoke and mirrors, but glass and mirrors. Okay.
Yeah.
So I walked into this wall about 3 or 4 times. I was there for about a week.
Are you actually physically walking?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Listen, I was just going to say, if there's no bars on windows and stuff, or glass, particularly when it's the bathroom and this is the bedroom.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the stock here? And there'll be some very subtle dots. In, the way that sort of conservatories have little swallows.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
you can still walk into them.
I was just going to say, that's going to stop them, isn't it? Anyway, so, but this one, when you look at these two paintings, this painting is infinitely more economic and more intelligent in some ways, right? More measured, yeah? That one's, more immediate and brusque and sort of, falls into place, right? But then what I wanted to do was I wanted very much for the light, which is coming in the window, of course, and actually flooding across the roof and the ceiling, and being reflected around. I wanted every stroke to be put on in the right direction. There, for instance, on the walls in the earlier version, you can see I start at the top with the brush stroke, 3-inch or 4-inch brush, and drag the paint down. There are bits that are masked up, obviously, right?
Where it's sort of coming down.
But of course, the problem with that, I then discovered, was that if I wanted to maintain this sense of gravity, right, and don't forget, everything here it's all about illusion, reflection and light and shadow and so on, that I would have to actually paint this painting upside down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Get it?
Yeah.
And the reason I was able to do that is this is the 8th version, and some of them are very tiny ones. I don't think there's any in the shows, very small ones. Right. And some are only about so big, and they're like studies or whatever, but they're more immediate, obviously, right? But the thing I do with this painting, in order that I can sort of orientate myself, particularly as painting it upside down, is have that painting in the studio upside down as a reference.
Oh, that's mental.
Well, it's actually quite clever. Mental clever. Yes, bear with us, stay with us. And this canvas, and then what I do with a Sharpie is mark out, tracing off that painting there, how I've marked out the walls and the ceiling and the joists or whatever it is, and the edge. This is a wardrobe that's in mirrored, they're the handles, etc. That's the bathroom, which are the basin that is over here, obviously, somewhere in this space here, and so on. And of course, the mat on the bathroom floor, which again, I thought, what happens if you, instead of describing a floor as horizontal, you think about the light and the reflection.
Crazy, I hadn't realised that's the mat on the bathroom floor. Because it's hovering.
Because it's what? Oh, it's hovering.
It's hovering.
Well, yes, but that's the point. It does in that one as well. That's why I started to realise that. But the point is, if you paint it upside down, then when you load the stroke, bear with us now, the paintbrush comes here, and then you drag the thing through the painting. That's masked, obviously. And then look, see, it gradually dissipates. So you can actually tell, look, all of these brush strokes, look, this is put on in that direction. It's the side of what is ostensibly a bath. And then, of course, these areas here, I mean, they're shadows under shelves. I mean, look at that, for instance. Oh, come on.
Graham, so you said you painted this one upside down. Only when you flip it over at the end, is that when you go...
No, I don't go. I go. Oh, right. Okay. No, it's no surprise because I can actually bend over.
Bend over and see.
No, but don't forget, I've got another painting in the room that is also upside down. So I'm working from a model, right? I've also, a prototype, and I've also got this armature, the scaffolding thing, which has to be there because the nature of the subject matter, the rectilinear, and the idea of these surfaces. But once these anchoring points, are established, the rest is a riff on sort of, where the light's coming from. So that's why it's much easier to put a paintbrush here and drag it and let it dissipate down, so it fades. Because don't forget, the whole surface is covered in liquid, and I'm just applying the pigment directly using a brush onto the surface, and then also always deciding which way the stroke should be, etc., etc. All right?
The one thing I find different to possibly all the others is you feel, or I sort of feel, like I'm falling right through it, out of the bottom. Like almost like there's no, like the other workshops, the other buildings, they have a sort of sense of base. You can stay, whereas this one, it's like, weirdly,
but that's an echo of the experience of the space. Workshops have got thick, dirty, clunky floors. This is all kind of shiny marble stuff or whatever, right? And so the reflection carries on, look, where it hits the floor, goes on through the floor.
That's
so the floor, in an imagistic sense, dematerializes. It ain't there. I mean, walls that you can see through, walls that reflect other walls and spaces, and a floor that reflects the ceiling.
Yeah.
I mean, that used to be something in a fun fair a few years ago. That was a sort of good day out, wasn't it?
Yeah. I feel if I was abducted by aliens, that's the kind of room I'd end up in.
You reckon?
Yeah.
You should be so lucky.
It feels very glossy and sterile.
See, that's that. Anyway, I'm not going to go into alien abduction at this point. What do I know?
That's for the next
Ask
video.
me another, Rob, that doesn't involve aliens.
Aliens. Well, should we stroll around and have
Yes,
a little
yes,
look?
yes,
Because obviously you've got this room here, but the exhibition.
Well, hold on. I'll tell you what I want to do
more
first.
favourites in here.
Yeah, well, in this room, there are two paintings where I think the way in which they are painted is worthy of remark, right?
Yeah.
Here. This one, which is, again, similar subject matter to light industry. It's Andy Tiernan's workshop, you know, with this roof light where you can't actually see where the light's coming in.
That's nice.
And it dissipates, right? So all the strokes here pulled up that way. Everything's pulled. Can you see the field is moving towards the light? Everything is put on. Look, see, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And then it goes up. So it informs every gesture, every movement. And it was this painting was a similar subject where somebody was looking at this one and they said, so what's that under the shelf there? I haven't got a clue. It's just dark.
It's just dark.
Because it's about the shadow. It's not. And this one has this lovely kind of penumbra, you know, falling, sort of falls into this space.
That's good, actually, isn't it?
And this one, again, a totally different picture of some allotments where everything is organic and very difficult to actually distinguish.
Yeah.
Right? But again, there's this soft light. And somebody made a very interesting observation when they came to the show. He said, oh, I see. So it's actually as if you can tell what time of day it is.
All right.
I thought that was an interesting take on that. Yeah. Anyway,
it's interesting.
Right.
So just as we move out there, is there one of these paintings you would miss more than any of the others if somebody bought it? Did you go back and look at paintings you've done from the past and as like a sort of diary of what you've done?
I think I'm aware of them, but I don't let it get me down. I don't lose any sleep over it because I'm preoccupied with what I might do next.
Yeah.
That's more than a day's work. That really, that is taxing. Yeah. So I don't really have the time. I'll tell you what I did enjoy is, you know, the idea that the light industry will go into what is probably one of the finest collections of post-war British painting.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, what's not to like about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's good, yeah. And then there are other people who own the paintings, and when you do meet them and they tell you how much pleasure they get from them, that's a bonus as well.
That's brilliant.
I'll take that any day.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I was going to say is that looking at paintings like this, it's the light that assembles and organises them, right? Little things like that, the way the shadow from the roof will cut across there and across here, and that space in there between the object and its shadow on the edge. I find all of that deeply fascinating, and actually, as I say, maybe that's a sort of like a cylindrical, like an oil drum,
something like that.
So it's generic, but it doesn't matter that I or the audience don't know what the specifics are, because, as I was saying earlier, I think I'm trying to paint not a state, I'm not illustrating this space, it's not a state of affairs, this is a state of mind. And light actually is this wonderful, ubiquitous sort of experience.
So, I mean, the paint, to a degree, almost becomes a reality.
Hold on. No, it doesn't almost. It has its own reality. That's important. That, you know, brushstrokes, I'm not trying to make them look like oil drums. I'm not trying to make anything look like anything, in fact. Right? I'm very happy for them. In fact, there are some of the smaller paintings work better because all you see are the marks, and you gradually you disinter the subject matter. You get it? It's like, like the little allotment painting.
So do you think these paintings are more real than the reality of the places they came from?
I think I'll leave that to Wittgenstein. I'm not really sure. No is the short answer. Of course not. They're paintings. They are, by their very nature, have to be a second order of object. You know, I mean, you know, yeah, that's a. It's not a very good question, that one. You've asked brighter ones.
I have asked brighter.
You have better ones. No, that one is so big, it's above my pay grade, as they say.
No, I suppose what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, what are you driving at?
I suppose what I'm trying to drive at is, do you feel you are creating some kind of magic with what you do?
Oh, I think painting is transformational, but I'm not sure it's magic. But I think what is really exciting is that it does actually, as I say, it tracks, you know, states of mind.
Yeah, I suppose I'm thinking more like in the way like the late Shakespeare plays. He's really going on about when the people are on the stage, it changes, the whole world changes. That stage becomes almost real.
Yes. But that stage and those plays are predicated upon the idea that when people walk into see those plays, that they've also been living out there in the world.
Yes.
One is a precursor to the other. One is the condition of the other. And I think therefore the context. So I think this will always be about states of mind. This will always be about the philosophy of mind. This one was a painting, well, it went completely wrong. Right?
Oh yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah, yes. There's a painting of a shelf unit, and there's another attempt in the foyer, the one with the in fact.
Oh yeah, the shelves.
Yeah,
yeah, let's have a look at that.
Yep. Up there, deliberately skied next to the.
That's all right. That's about my height.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's all right for you and a couple of giraffes that might be. Right. Anyway, so I painted at the same time I was painting another painting about a collection of records. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Now, and I thought the only bit that I really wanted to keep, that I thought was worth keeping, because was this piece, because I think the painting was probably about.
Oh, what, you chopped it up?
Yeah, just chop the rest off. Yeah. It's a very pragmatic sort of maxim. If I think it shouldn't exist, if it's too late and they've dried and you can't wipe it off, you either sand it down and you use the board again, or in my case, cut the bit out that you think is probably worth keeping, right? And it was and this was the only thing I wanted to keep.
Which is?
And then, of course, I started just elaborating on it slightly, and I gave it a red disc in the front.
Guilty pleasure?
Yeah, yes, a very guilty pleasure. And I thought, how am I going to title this?
Yeah.
And then I suddenly thought, I know. What if I were to suggest what the album was that's being played, well, it's not being played because the arm is on the disc, obviously, but it's on the turntable. And I thought, yeah, it's got to be Troutmask Replica. Yes.
There we go.
There we go. Yes. I mean, your viewers of a certain age will have to work that out for themselves. Yeah.
The others who are just dragged into a new experience.
Yes. If somebody Googles Captain Beefheart after that, my work will have been done. Yeah. This one I just think is a terrific piece of painting.
Oh, it's lovely, that one.
Everything. And of course, it's an example of why the lemon, that cadmium lemon, is important to creating the illusion of light or luminosity. Because in painting, you can't create light, but you can create luminosity or a sense of luminosity. Whereas here, it's straightforward tonal painting. But look at the way that each stroke, each stroke stops short of describing a thing, an element. All it does is it describes the shadow or the location or whatever.
But it's also what I like this little bit here.
Oh yes, where you wipe it off. Yeah.
Oh, but you feel like the reality of whatever this place is melting. You feel like these cans or these things or motorbikes are just oozing across.
Well, all of these elements just become a midden practically. You don't differentiate things. They've got a certain kind of pattern to them. Yeah. It's like all tools are a reflection of their use, etc. Yeah. Right, and there's a couple of paintings here. I can't for the life of me remember whether this one is 2 hours 48 minutes or 3 hours 40. You probably get. But anyway, but the point was.
I find it rather disturbing. It's a slightly different yellow.
Yes, it is. Oh, it's a very different yellow. Well, underneath is the cadmium lemon, but then it's overpainted and glazed in part with the cadmium Yellow, that's right, pale, right. But the point is this, that after I painted it, and it's obviously very organic, sort of rather like the huge painting, the large painting down there, similar subject matter of the garden.
Oh yeah,
that larger, yeah. One of which is at TM, the lighting company down the road. I suddenly thought, I can't call this garden or something. I thought, that is too lame, too predictable. And I thought, I know. I suddenly realised it had taken me just over 2.5 hours. I thought, oh no, you've got to do it. It's got to be 2 hours, 38 minutes. It's obvious, yeah?
It's obvious, yeah. I love it.
And equally, so there's the Trout Mask replica where the title is located outside of the painting culturally.
Yeah, that's cool.
And this one is as well in a very different sense, right? But this one is called Bees. And I say, no matter how long you spend looking at it, you won't see any. Get it? Because if you're going to paint a painting about sort of climate change and climate disaster, I don't want it to seem didactic. Like it's self-evident that things are going haywire. You've got to be an idiot to deny that. And I thought, so if somebody does come up to me one day and say, I looked at it for ages, I couldn't see any bees, and I said, neither did I. That one's called 4 o'clock, by the way.
Oh, 4 o'clock.
That has a clock in it.
So, Graham, we've been wandering around. I've absolutely loved looking at the pictures and chatting to you about them. Always fun and interesting to banter over the pictures.
Is that what it was?
For me, some of these are, personally, I think some of the most striking you've done. I still particularly love this one down here with those massive
the brushstrokes.
Lines
yes.
in it.
Yeah.
And I adore the way that, for me, it falls in and out of reality and the paint becomes a reality.
It's an object, yeah.
So where next?
I don't know. I really don't know. But that's why it's so taxing.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah.
There is no route map for this. I've been doing it all my life. And the paintings have been evolving because, as I said earlier, I'm able to think and rethink and reinvent them pretty much at will. Yeah. There was a time when everybody thought flower paintings were sort of beneath contempt. Serious painters didn't think about painting flower paintings because it was for amateurs and half-wits and stuff, and it was dismissed. And I thought, right, I'll have some of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And somebody at the end of the talk in the Walker asked me if I was a contrarian, and the only answer to that is a categorical yes.
Where is that?
Because in the late 60s, if you decided to paint, as I did, you were beyond the pale, really.
Yeah.
Right? So, my whole engagement with the bikes and the custom bike scene, that bike building stuff, of which is manifests some of the subject matter here, obviously, is what I regard as subcultural or countercultural. And the funny thing was, I've discovered with hindsight that in actual fact, painting through that time when painting was dead, was actually a countercultural sort of position. The idea that painting could be countercultural. It sounds absurd today. It sounds anathema. But that's what drew me to it, I think. The lack of approval. The way you could never, in any common or vulgar sense, succeed.
Yeah.
Get it? Yeah.
So do you still feel you're digging that countercultural, subversive?
Not quite. Subversive is too strong a word there, Rob.
Yeah.
I'd rein it in a bit.
Easy target.
I'm not a subversive, but I am a skeptic. And I am a contrarian. Yeah, that's fine. But I think that's what drives the project. Because I can work out as quick as the next person what is predictable, what is inevitable, what's very likely, and then take action to avoid that, hopefully. And the only way you're going to avoid that action is by thinking about it from a different position, culturally, thinking about it in a different mind, changing your mind, literally. But it just totally preoccupies me. I can't.
No, I can see
there's some days when I just can't think of anything else. I know you asked me earlier on where am I when I'm painting. I'm in the painting.
You're in it.
Yeah, that's all. And then I stop, and I'm back in the room, but I never leave the room in any sense of the word.
And when you think of the next painting you're going to be doing, like say when you moved from this one over to this one here.
Hold on, let me just stop you there. That wasn't the next painting.
Oh, it wasn't next. Okay,
No, there were 5 or 6 versions,
Okay.
and I may have painted this one of the garden in between, and that one of the workshop. No, no, they're not. It's not linear. There's not a series at work here. There are sets of subjects, but again, the content is always light. Because if it works in one painting, I may try and return to it in another version. Because I think I could finesse that. I might be able to do it, where it's more luminous.
Sure.
Which might imply that it might be better in some way.
Yeah. So when you then think, what I'm trying to say really is, how much is the actual making of it when you put the paint on a place of chaos? Are you sure what it's going to look like at the end, or do you have no idea? That's the exciting thing, is you have to actually watch what you're doing to find out where it's going. Okay, you've got to be in the moment, you've got to be there. Oh no, I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you sort of, painted an apple or whatever it was, or a mountain, as in some cases, or your nice little lake. It's the delight is actually finding out how you can surprise yourself. Yeah, you think, oh, I hadn't quite seen it like that before. Yeah, to make the familiar unfamiliar. Yeah, nice. To make the familiar unfamiliar. I think that's...
Yeah, but also to remind people that these are at the very threshold between, mind and matter. Yeah. Without sort of, as I say, holding a seminar on phenomenology or something. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if there was somebody who went away having seen the show, what would you want them? Would you want them to see the world differently, or think about the world differently?
Well, the only thing that a lot of people have written to me having seen the show, and something of that has happened, or they thought, it's not that they thought about the world differently, they start to think about painting differently. Yeah, that's probably a more modest project. And one that I'd take as a compliment. Yeah, because painting never dies, it just keeps changing, it just keeps developing, it just keeps... and quite frankly, the other most surprising thing about this, for me and most other people, is when did you last hear somebody talking about light in paintings?
Well, exactly. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, you think, hold on, has he lost the plot? Or maybe he's actually on a different page. Yeah, it's the latter. And the idea that light, shadow, reflection fascinate me, they're all, in a sense, in relationship to the physical world, they stand as good analogies or metaphors for painting itself. That's what fascinates me.
Brilliant. Well, I think it's absolutely fascinating exhibition. Absolutely stunning. Really enjoyed seeing it. And everybody basically should come here. So tell me again, how long does it go on for?
It's on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday regular opening hours, I think, are until June. All the information's on Domo's website.
And I'll put it down at the bottom
exactly.
of the videos.
But I think the work will remain up during July and can be viewed by appointment.
Yeah, brilliant.
Pretty much any time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and nice and easy to get to.
Yes.
Holborn.
Handy for the shops.
Handy for the shops.
Yes. Chancery Lane.
And if you want to become a barrister, you can just pop into Grace.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
You tried.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I can tell you. Anyway, Graham, magnificent as usual. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Okay,
Thanks for coming.